Diana Ross, a musical legend at 82 years old, has been the subject of several interviews in which she discusses her incredible friendship with Michael Jackson, the pop music industry's undisputed monarch. There has long been suspicion that the two singers were romantically involved, based on their shared experiences and the unbreakable friendship that went beyond their stardom. But was this true? Was there an affair between Michael Jackson and Ross, as his fascination with her grew? Here we present Diana Ross, who, at the age of 82, discusses her connection with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's background and career. Before we get into the matter, let's take a look at Michael Jackson's background. Born in Gary, Indiana, on the 29th of August 1958, Michael Joseph Jackson is a renowned music superstar. He was born to Joseph Jackson, a crane operator, and Catherine Jackson, a housewife. They had 10 children altogether. A devoted Jehovah's Witness, his mother was as well. Music was something that both of his parents dabbled with. His dad, Joseph, was a guitarist for local R&B bands, while his mom, Catherine, had dreams of being a country singer and played piano and clarinet. The Jackson family was very supportive of their children's musical endeavors. In fact, Jackson's father urged him to start performing when he was just 5 years old. Jermaine, Rebe, Jackie, Tito, LaToya, Marlon, Randy, and Janet Jackson were just a few of Jackson's siblings who achieved fame in the music business. Their father, Joseph, was relentless in his pursuit of excellence. He reportedly became aggressive with his children and had them practice for 5 hours every day after school. Reportedly, he would resort to using a belt buckle or electric kettle wire to strike them, and if they messed up a dance move, he would tell them to chop a branch from a tree so he could hit them with it. In the early 1960s, the father almost turned his boys into a band that would go on to be called the Jackson 5. Michael Jackson's elder brothers Tito, Jermaine, and Jackie were the original members of the Jackson family. Jackson became the lead singer for the family band when he was just 5 years old, after joining his siblings in the group. As a young actor, he wowed with his ability to portray nuanced emotions and a wide spectrum of emotions. When Marlon, the eldest Jackson sibling, joined the group, they were formally known as the Jackson 5. According to interviews, Jackson and his siblings would put in a lot of time practicing and perfecting their performance. The Jackson 5 originally gained fame by performing at small venues throughout the country. Big Boy, their solo single, had the B-side, You've Changed. However, the album was a colossal failure. Gladys Knight and the Pips, James Brown, Sam and Dave, and other R&B musicians would often have the group perform as their opening act. The hallowed Motown record company signed several of these artists. Of course, Berry Gordy, founder of Motown, couldn't help but notice the Jackson 5. In early 1969, the group's performance left an impression on Berry Gordy, who promptly signed them to his label. As the Jackson brothers themselves adjusted to life in Los Angeles, they stayed with Gordy and Diana Ross. When the trio initially appeared on television, it was to sing a rendition of It's Your Thing at the 1969 Miss Black America contest. The first single from Diana Ross presents the Jackson 5, I Want You Back, debuted in December 1969 and quickly went on to top the Billboard Hot 100 list. The album was released the same month. Despite the group's apparent success, problems started to simmer in the background. Gordy and Joseph had a falling out because the Jacksons wanted greater input over the direction of the boys' careers. The conflict persisted until 1976, when the youthful vocal group formally parted relations with Motown. But Jermaine remained with the label, so he could continue his solo career. With their name changed to the Jacksons, the group re-signed with Epic Records. By the time they produced Destiny, their third album for the company, in 1978, the brothers had already developed into gifted composers. Michael Jackson's meteoric rise to the top of the entertainment business is well known, yet he faced adversity and tragedy just like anybody else. What terrible things happened to him, and how did he overcome them? Reach the pinnacle of stardom. Launching PepsiCo's youth-targeted New Generation campaign, Jackson inked a record-breaking $5 million promotional agreement in November 1983, when he was at the height of his fame. Problems developed, though, and Jackson sued Pepsi in the end. It turned out that during the filming of a simulated concert for a commercial, the pyrotechnics accidentally set Jackson's hair on fire, resulting in second- and third-degree burns on his scalp. The musician had to get a surgery done to repair his injuries, and it was believed that at that time he had begun experimenting with plastic surgery. His face, especially his nose, would become dramatically altered in the coming years. Jackson then worked with Lionel Richie in 1985 to co-write We Are the World, a charity single for the nonprofit organization USA for Africa. A veritable who's who of music stars, including Ray Charles, Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, Bruce Springsteen, and Tina Turner, took part in the project. Without any surprise, it became one of the top-selling singles of all time, and according to some accounts, it raised more than $75 million for humanitarian aid to fight poverty in Africa. He released his highly anticipated follow-up album, Bad, in 1987. Although unable to duplicate the phenomenal sales of the more successful album Thriller, Bad still reached the top of the charts and became the first album to feature 5 number-1 hits with I Just Can't Stop Loving You, Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, and Dirty Diana. Filmmaker Martin Scorsese directed the title track's music video, which featured a then-unknown Wesley Snipes and involved an elaborate story about delinquent teenagers and gang violence. Jackson spent more than a year on the road playing concerts to promote the album. Michael Jackson bought 2,700 acres of property in Los Olivos, California, in 1988 for $17 million and had it converted into Neverland Ranch, a home and private amusement park that he owned until 2005. Named after the fantasy island from the Peter Pan story, it included a zoo, train, Ferris wheel, and 50-seat movie theater. Several exotic pets were kept at the ranch, including Jackson's famous pet chimpanzee Bubbles. In the 1980s, rumors started circulating that the legendary Jackson was bleaching his skin to make it look whiter and sleeping in an oxygen chamber to make him live longer. A rare broadcast interview with Oprah Winfrey was something he consented to in 1993 to put an end to suspicions. He spoke up about his experiences with his father's violence, a fall in his profession, and criminal charges, as well as the vitiligo that caused his skin tone to shift. History, past, present, and future. Book One's lackluster response in 1995 marked the beginning of the end for the Take Ted musician's musical career. One disc was a greatest hits collection, while the other was new music, featuring guest appearances by Janet Jackson, Slash, Shaquille O'Neal, and the Notorious Big. With lyrics about his accusations of child abuse and his fury at the media's portrayal of him, History was widely regarded as Jackson's most autobiographical album. 2 popular singles came from the album, You Are Not Alone and Scream, a duet with his sister Janet. A record-breaking $7 million went into making the music video for the second single, which had a spaceship motif and won a Grammy for its impressive visual effects. The use of an anti-Semitic phrase in another album tune, They Don't Care About Us, also led to severe condemnation of Jackson. His last studio album, 2001's Invincible, was released the year before he passed away. It was the most costly record ever created with a production cost of $30 million. Isolation, societal difficulties, and his persistent criticisms of the media were all themes that appeared on the album. Despite the album's successful start on the Billboard charts, reviewers gave it mixed reviews. While Jackson was embroiled in a legal conflict with Sony over the ownership of his master recordings, the album Invincible was released. When black musicians were accused by Jackson of being exploited by Tommy Mottola, the chairman of Sony Music, the situation became even more heated. Wearing a surgical mask in public was just one of Jackson's many oddities that gained him more and more fame in the early 2000s. He became famous in 2002 after appearing bewildered and disoriented while performing at the MTV Video Music Awards. In the same year, he was heavily criticized for meeting fans in Berlin, Germany, while dangling the blanket of his infant son from an apartment balcony. Thousands of admirers were yelling below, wanting to see Jackson's child, so he was gracious enough to let them see, Jackson explained in a subsequent interview, justifying his behavior. I was acting innocently when I did something. Diana Ross. Her birthday is the 26th of March, 1944, and she is an American singer and actor. She served as the main vocalist for the vocal group known as the Supremes, which went on to become the most popular act to come out of Motown during the 1960s. Additionally, the Supremes became one of the most successful female groups in the history of the genre. They continue to hold the record for the most #1 pop songs in the history of the United States Billboard Hot 100. making them the top-charting female group of all time. Following her departure from the Supremes in 1970, Ross had a successful solo music career. She began her career with the publication of her self-titled first solo album, which included the songs Ain't No Mountain High Enough, which became her first solo #1 hit in the United States, and Reach Out and Touch Somebody's Hand. It was her second solo album, Everything Is Everything, which was released in 1970, that gave birth to her first song to reach #1 in the United Kingdom. Her solo career continued to be successful, and she proceeded to release hit albums such as Touch Me in the Morning in 1973, Mahogany in 1975, Diana Ross in 1976, and Diana in 1980. She also embarked on extravagant concert tours across the world, which established new records along the way, and she starred in primetime television specials that were extremely popular. In addition to her success in the music industry, Diana Ross has also acquired widespread recognition and success in the world of Hollywood as an actor. As a result of her depiction of Billie Holiday in the film Lady Sings the Blues, which was released in 1972, she became the first African-American actress to get an Academy Award nod for a first film performance. She won the Golden Globe Award for her performance, and she was also nominated for the Academy Award. She also recorded the soundtrack for the film, which became her only solo album to reach #1 on the Billboard 200 list in the United States. This accomplishment was another one of her many accomplishments that set a new standard. Another two feature films that she appeared in were Mahogany, which was released in 1975, and The Wiz, which was released in 1978. After that, she went on to make appearances in the television film Out of Darkness in 1994, for which she was presented with a nomination for a Golden Globe Award and double platinum in 1999. In 1976, Ross was recognized by Billboard as the Female Performer of the Century. This recognition did not come as a surprise given the accomplishments that Ross had accomplished. 25 studio albums, a multitude of singles, and compilations have been issued by the legendary actress since the beginning of her solo career in 1970. These albums have together sold more than 100 million copies all over the world. Additionally, she is the only female artist to have had a total of 18 pop singles that have reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in the United States. These tracks have been released as solo artists, as the other half of a duet, as a member of a trio, and as a member of an ensemble. In 2021, she was ranked by Billboard as the 31st best artist to ever be counted on the Hot 100. For a very long time, from 1955 to 2018, Ross was consistently ranked among the top 5 artists on the Billboard Hot 100 Songs list. Her hits as a diva and as a solo artist collectively contributed to her position. She had a top 10 success in the United Kingdom in every one of the previous 50 years, and she sang lead on a top 75 hit song at least once every year in the United Kingdom from 1964 to 1996. This is a record for any singer since it is a lengthy period that spans 33 consecutive years. Even if one were to make the conscious decision to dismiss Ross's accomplishments, it would be quite difficult to do so. As a result, she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988 as a member of the Supremes. Additionally, she is one of the few singers to have 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. A special Tony Award was bestowed upon her in the year 1977. After that, in 2007, she was presented with the Kennedy Center Honors and the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Honor twice, in 2012 and 2023, making her the first woman to win the honor twice, the second time as a member of the Supremes, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2016. Michael Jackson's and Diana Ross's relationship. It appeared as though the great musician and the iconic singer and actress had some sort of spark with one another. There was a point when Jackson's feelings for Ross were nothing more than a simple crush from his youth, but over time, they evolved into a teenage obsession. The fact that they did not get close till Michael reached his teenage years was addressed by his brother Jermaine in his autobiography. Jermaine claims that he was aware of Michael's passion for Diana ever since he was a little lad. Jermaine claims that Michael has always adored Diana, but he was aware that he would not be able to put his feelings for her into action until he reached the age of majority. Recently, Diana Ross, who is now 82 years old, has been the subject of several interviews in which she has discussed her connection with Michael Jackson. By the late 1970s, both singers were already engaging in wild flirtation in public, and there was no shortage of countless reports at the time that speculated whether or not the two were having some kind of romantic relationship. When Michael Jackson and the other four members of the Jackson 5 were auditioning for Motown Records, a record label in which Diana Ross was the most prominent star, they were introduced to Diana Ross for the first time. This occurred when Michael Jackson was 10 years old. Diana was working on her career outside of her great renown in the 1960s, when she first witnessed Michael and his siblings singing for a charity show. Both of them were performing for the show. After that, Diana made sure to meet all of the members of the Jackson 5 and assured them that she would do all in her power to assist them in their professional endeavors. When they first met, the media and, by extension, the general public were told that Diana Ross found the Jackson 5 and that she merely utilized her connections to drive them into superstardom. This was the story that was told to them after they had met. It has been determined that this particular tale is not accurate. Even before he became famous, Michael frequently discussed Diana Ross and how much he cherished the Supremes. The fact that the young guy in love moved in with Diana at the same time as he and his brothers signed a contract with Motown, and the family was searching for a place to live in Los Angeles, was not a particularly remarkable development. He would make fun of his brothers by referring to Diana as his girlfriend, and he would not allow anybody to come near her. As part of the film adaptation of The Wiz, which was released in 1977, Michael Jackson played the role of the Scarecrow. The fact that his old friend Diana Ross, who was also cast in the role of Dorothy, was a major contributor to this result. On the other hand, it was rumored that Ross would only be able to secure the role if she was successful in securing Michael Jackson, who was a popular adolescent idol at the time, to also participate in the film. At the age of 33, she was unsuitable for the role because of her age. The efforts that Ross made to get the picture into production were regarded by Pauline Kael, a film critic, as maybe the most compelling illustration of pure willpower in the history of film. Katherine Jackson, Michael Jackson's mother, once stated that when Diana Ross was cast in the part of Dorothy, Michael had an additional reason to secure a role in the film. Since he and his brothers had been her house guests, it would appear that he had been thinking about her and falling in love with her. It was his way of making fun of LaToya and Janet, saying things like, "You're not pretty until you start looking like Diana." It was J. Randy Taraborelli who wrote the biography of Jackson. In 1977, when Michael Jackson and Diana Ross were working on the set of The Wiz, he related that they would frequently go out at night and attend parties at the Studio 54 nightclub in New York, which was located in New York City. One of Diana's assistants expressed his frustration at the fact that he had spent the entire morning trying to get in touch with both of them because they were running late for filming. Eventually, he was able to get in touch with them on the phone, and to his surprise, he discovered that they were in his apartment and that she had spent the night there. During the shoot later on, it was said that people overheard Diana talking to some of her girlfriends and said to one of them and told them something about Jackson not being gay. Michael and Diana ended up confusing everyone, as when an assistant asked Michael if anything had happened between them, Michael replied with, "You'd have to ask her that." And when the assistant asked Diana, she told him he needed to ask Michael. This flirtation between the legendary Michael Jackson and iconic Diana Ross continued for years to come, and the young musician's infatuation only grew with time. But the twist is that Diana never really took the relationship seriously. This is understandable because of their 1-3-year age gap. Although Michael had no problems with the difference in age, and it was never an issue with him, Diana, on the other hand, could not escape the ridicule of society. She could not overcome the taboo of the age and their association when Jackson was still only a child. Being an ambitious woman, she was fearful of how this would impact on her public image, and thus her career. Jackson had a photo session with Diana Ross by the photographer Todd Gray. After the shot, Gray showed Jackson proof sheets, and Jackson simply ordered 2 large prints of every picture. The photographer was left in a daze as he calculated 2 of every single picture to be about 144 prints. However, Michael responded in a composed manner, stating, "Yes, I can count. The first set is for myself, and the second set is for Diana. I can't believe this, Todd." During the 1981 special that Diana Ross hosted, Michael Jackson was featured prominently, and his presence was felt. Diana was the only other person who had his performance, and Michael was the only other person who had his performance. They performed together not once, but 3 times. In the course of her introduction, she referred to him as her baby, and the two of them hugged each other many times. In addition, the program featured a brief conversation between the two, during which they overtly flirted with one another and referred to each other as attractive. "I'm crazy about Michael, and I love him a lot," Diana Ross stated in an interview with Ebony magazine in the same year. "He is the source of my motivation. I don't even know whether he is aware of how remarkable he is. He is a kind and great human being, and he is one of the special ones in our universe. Each time that I can be in his presence, I enjoy it. His aura is solely concerned with love." Diana answers a question in an interview, stating that she and Michael were in love with one another, because she would later come out and claim that he and his siblings were similar to her children. That was probably misread. As a result of Diana Ross's vibrant personality and her fondness for Michael, people were able to mistakenly believe that their relationship was sexual. This is something that can now be understood. The quality of Diana's personality was such that it was contagious, and according to several stories, she flirted with all guys in public, including Michael. Although it was nothing out of the ordinary for Ross, Michael Jackson was unable to let go of his romantic fixation and continued to dwell on it. As a result, this relationship became one of Michael Jackson's greatest disasters. Even more, he built a shrine in his family home that was devoted to the woman who was the love of his life, complete with photos and other souvenirs. During one of the interviews, Ross was asked about her feelings regarding Jackson's decision to modify his appearance to resemble her. In her response, she informed him that she did not think that he had done it for her. Diana Ross's marriage. Diana tried several times to make Michael feel better, but she wasn't romantically involved with him. Sure enough, everyone looked at her and Jackson as if they were a mother and son. She commented, "He's going to play my son," while walking the red carpet with Michael at the 1981 Academy Awards. Michael and she both chuckled and left the room. However, Michael Jackson foolishly believed that he and Diana were in a relationship and were extremely hopeful that they would eventually be together, so he found it difficult to let go of the idea, even when Diana gently let him down and dropped clues. In an interview from 1983, Michael Jackson gushed that Diana Ross embodied perfection. In his words, he hoped she would marry him because he loved her. Her deepest, darkest secrets, he claims, were always divulged to him. They had the type of relationship that would last a lifetime. Michael Jackson's wounded heart was evident when Ross wed Arne Naess Jr., a Norwegian shipping billionaire, for the second time in 1985. A year later, in 1986, they tied the knot, and Michael Jackson reportedly abruptly pulled out of the public ceremony. Upon reflection, it is not shocking at all. He claimed that he felt thrilled for Diana Ross upon hearing the news of her marriage, since he knew it would bring her much joy. It was still difficult for him since he pretended to be upset by the news that Diana was marrying a man he had never met. He pretended he desired her happiness, but was secretly wounded and envious. Michael made an appearance midway through the 1986 American Music Awards, but he wasn't the only one. As an acceptable substitute for Diana Ross, he arrived with Elizabeth Taylor. Michael Jackson's unhappy and distant demeanor toward Ross throughout the performance, in which he grudgingly acknowledged the success of the charity single USA Africa, "We Are the World," was also observed. His affection for Diana Ross didn't seem to fade away so quickly, though. He continued to compose and record songs about her and their relationship for albums like Bad and Dangerous. Among the songs that were published was 1992's Remember the Time. Michael's brother Jermaine said that Michael had informed him that the song was composed with Diana Ross in mind, the one great love that, in his opinion, eluded him. On the Bad album, Michael had previously released Dirty Diana in 1987. Although the song was supposedly about groupies, many fans thought it was really about him being furious at Diana Ross for leading him on and then getting married to someone else. Having said that, Ross's marriage was far from blissful, even though they had 2 boys. Despite being officially married, Diana and her spouse lived on different continents. In interviews, she has said that the frigid and foreboding climate of Norway made it impossible for her to live there. Additionally, she had no interest in leaving her older children, family, and work behind in the United States. Even while she was pregnant, Diana Ross had covert meetings with Michael Jackson. Despite his anguish and despair, he still had sentiments for her. According to his memoirs Moonwalk, he stated, "I've loved Diana, and I always will," implying that his love for Diana will never fade. As the years flew by, he marketed and traveled the world extensively, while Diana focused on family life and their meetings grew increasingly rare. In an interview with the Rock Hill Herald in 1991, Diana Ross said that anytime he wanted to see her, she materialized. He effectively shut the door when he didn't. It was unable to get in touch with him, locate him, or do anything else. There was this enigmatic affection for him. Diana was special to Michael even though they were never officially a couple. In 1995, while she was visiting him in the hospital, he referred to her as his universe. In his eagerness to welcome Diana, he forcibly removed his then-wife, Lisa Marie Presley, from his bedroom, and he showered her with gifts and attention when she arrived. Michael Jackson's will unexpectedly included Diana Ross after she died in 2009, even though the two had been apart for a long time. In the case that his mother was to pass away, he expressed his desire to leave his children in her care in his will. This deed served as a tribute to her, as a wonderful mother to her children, and as a final act of respect for their relationship, the strong link they shared throughout their lives, and the unique place she held in his heart. Michael Jackson's legacy. Jackson has been criticized for attaining the label of King of Pop, and has been described as such because he revolutionized the art of music videos and paved the way for contemporary pop music. During a significant portion of his career, the legendary artist exerted an impact on the younger generation that was unequaled on a global scale. Beyond the realm of the music industry, his effect was widespread. In addition to affecting dance, he was a pioneer in fashion trends and a voice for world concerns. Through his songs and videos, he was able to promote ethnic diversity in MTV's roster and shift the channel's focus from rock to pop music and R&B, therefore transforming the channel into a form that has shown to be durable. He practically transformed the music business. Jackson's songs condemned several forms of injustice while also emphasizing racial integration and environmentalism. It was in songs like Man in the Mirror, Black or White, Heal the World, Earth Song, and They Don't Care About Us that he expressed these sentiments. As a result of his extraordinary level of success, Guinness World Records acknowledged him as the most successful performer in the history of the world. Additionally, Rolling Stone included him in their list of the best vocalists in the history of the entire world. In addition to his contributions to music, dance, and fashion, as well as his reported personal life, he has been a worldwide presence in popular culture for more than 4 decades. He is widely regarded as one of the most prominent cultural icons of the 20th century. Daniel Smith, who is both the chief content officer of Vibe Media Group and the editor-in-chief of Vibe, referred to Michael Jackson as the most significant celebrity. He was described as an unstoppable juggernaut by Steve Huey of AllMusic, who acknowledged that he possessed all of the abilities necessary to rule the charts apparently at will. His voice is instantly recognizable, his dance routines are jaw-dropping, his musical range is astounding, and he possesses a great deal of incredible star power. In addition, BET stated that Jackson was without a doubt the greatest performer of all time, and that his music, style, movement, and legacy continue to inspire artists working in a variety of genres. In 1984, the Time pop critic Jay Cox stated that Michael Jackson was the most significant phenomenon to emerge since the Beatles. For the first time since Elvis Presley, he is the most popular single phenomenon. He may be still the most popular black singer of all time. He went on to give Jackson several titles, including calling him a star of records, radio, and rock video, a one-man rescue team for the music industry, a songwriter who has set the beat for a decade, a dancer with the most fashionable feet on the street, and a singer who transcends all boundaries of taste, style, and color as well. Jackson was referred to be a genius and a very influential figure by Tom Utley, a journalist for the Daily Telegraph in the year 2003. During the funeral ceremony for Michael Jackson, which took place on the 7th of July, 2009, Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, acknowledged that Jackson was the greatest entertainer who had ever lived. Motown was the first record label that Michael Jackson signed to. Jill Rosen noted in an article that was published in the Baltimore Sun on the 28th of June, 2009, that Michael Jackson's legacy had an impact on a variety of industries, including music, dance, fashion, music videos, and stardom. From the 1970s to the early 1990s, Jackson's work showed a great deal of inventiveness, flexibility, and ambition, according to a piece written by a pop critic named Robert Christgau. Music that will eternally be a rebuke to the puritanical concept that pop music is slick or shallow, and that is the end of it. With amazing beats, hooks, arrangements, and singers, but not lyrics, music that will remain a reproach for all time. As Michael Jackson's troubled life began to spiral out of control throughout the 1990s, his music began to suffer and began to develop an arc that was not simply one of promise realized and outlived, but of something that was becoming closer and closer to tragedy. A brilliantly exuberant kid celebrity surpasses himself in ways that have never been seen before, only to transform into a lost freak audibly. It was said by Christgau in the 2000s that the fact that Michael Jackson is a wonderful musician is frequently overlooked because of his fixation with fame and his ugly existence, which is amplified by his grotesque fortune. This is because rock aesthetes find these things to be such an affront. Michael Jackson made sure to spend some of his dying moments with the person he loved the most and left her with the responsibility of caring for his children, even though his death did not quite have the happy ending of a fairy tale. There are many people whose hearts will always remember him. We appreciate you watching. By clicking on the link that is currently displayed on your computer, you will be able to view yet another intriguing film. We will meet again on the other side.